Fraunces Tavern has an extraordinary place in American history. It's where the Sons of Liberty met. It's where George Washington bid farewell to his officers at the end of the Revolutionary War. And it's also the place where Frank Connor, my father, was murdered in 1975.
Freedom came today for most of the 14 Puerto Ricans who accepted President Clinton's controversial gift of clemency. 11 of them, who describe themselves as nationalists, some others describe them as terrorists, were released from federal prisons around the country.
It made no sense.
These people claimed responsibility for about 130 bombings in the U.S. As you said, one of them was the Fraunces Tavern bombing, where they killed 4 people, including my father. I mean, at sentencing, they threatened to kill the judge. He forgot to mention that. I interviewed with someone from BBC the other day, and she asked me if I was raised with hate. So... If I was raised with hate, so I asked her, and she had interviewed Oscar Lopez, and I said, well, did you ask Oscar the same question? No, she didn't ask Oscar Lopez. So he was convicted of transporting weapons. He was convicted of having explosives. He was convicted of trying to escape from prison using blasting caps, plastic explosives, machine guns, and armor-piercing shells, and a helicopter.
Joe, this is the Bissell dining room at Fraunces Tavern, and this is the room that suffered most of the damage in the bombing on January 24th, 1975. The bomb was placed actually just on the opposite side of these doors.
The Times reports that Holder met with the group's supporters and processed an application anyway.
I'll tell you that there was the connections between the FALN, the Black Panthers, the Weather Underground, the May 19th Communist Organization are well documented.
What is this obsession with allowing terrorists to go free?
It's a great question.
That killed your father.
That killed my father and killed others. It's never been answered why he pushed these things through. Sometimes we get so involved in what the politics of something are, maybe he just agreed with them.
What's the possibility that on his way out, Obama lets this guy out of prison?
It's a very high probability. I don't think it's a possibility, I think it's a probability. As a matter of fact, Judge McMillan, who sentenced them, who they threatened his life, he said if he could have imposed a death penalty on them, he would have. Where would my dad have been sitting in relation to this table?
I believe your dad was sitting at the end of the table here, Joe, and would have been one of the first people hit by the blast of the bomb.
These pictures, the painful memories, the American people, we will never forget. But it appears that some of our elected leaders have already forgotten. Joe Connor lost his cousin in the North Tower of the World Trade Center that day. Right. Joe also lost his father in 1975 in a terrorist attack here in New York City. Joe, this really hits home for you.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You know, I work here in New York. We're connected to New York. We've been through it now twice as a family. And to think that we're now shutting down these surveillance programs and announcing it. I think that's an important part too. You know, not only are we saying that there has been surveillance, but now we're shutting it down. To me, that reeks of politics. Political correction used to be sort of a nuisance in our society. It's become a noose around our necks now. People are dying because of it. So it's hard to know if people are doing it because of complete malfeasance or incompetence. The important thing is to bring these people to justice, because it brings justice to Steve and to Chick and to Tim Finnerty and all the other 3,000 people that were killed. First of all, the museum is magnificent, and it's cavernous, it's massive, and it's such a tribute to not only that day, but to each individual who died. Valley Forge, Arlington, you know, Holocaust, you can go down the list. So I think it gives people the opportunity to buy something that they can bring home with them that helps them remember. I mean, that's what it's all about. It was part of the tradition of what happened that day, and whether he wants to deny its religious symbolism or wants to call it a religious symbol is irrelevant. It was very important to the people who were down there at the time. The first place we went to was a St. Patrick's Church in Little Italy, and the 3 of us sat and prayed. And she was Jewish, I'm Catholic, didn't matter. Our energy policy is totally out of whack, and our energy is more a national security issue than even an economic issue with them.
That is so true.
And George Washington said, in order to secure the peace, you have to project that you're able to fight the war at any time. And I don't think we're doing that right now, and we're really putting our own people in danger for some political correctness or appeasement. You have a major shooting, 13 people while screaming Allah Akbar at the time, and it's called workplace violence. They are not the victims here. They perpetrated, the Islamic extremists perpetrated this attack. They are not victims. If anything, we've gone overboard to protect the Islamic people in this country since 9/11. So this is ridiculous.
Look at that full screen. Look at there. Ayers University of Chicago. Bernadine Dohrn is at Northwestern Law School. My head is going to explode. Kathy Boudin, who served 20 years for murdering 2 cops and a security guard, is at Columbia University.
Yeah.
And this other one at New York City high schools.
I have a son who's going to be graduating high school next year, and we're looking at colleges. I would want to know as a parent where my kid is going. If you bought food, you find out what the ingredients are. If I'm going to pay $60,000, I want to find out that we have terrorists teaching our kids.
And City College wanted to honor the folks who killed your father in a terrorist attack here in New York.
They had a community center named for Guillermo Morales and Asante Shakur, who was Morales was the bomb maker for the FAL, and Shakur was Joanne Chazamard, who killed Warner Forster on the New Jersey Turnpike. And they had a community center honoring them. They put someone like Bill Ayers, who now is, I think, at Minnesota State. You have Kathy Boudin. You've had Susan Rosenberg. You've had all these various people who have had jobs in colleges, and now they're respected. It makes no sense. They were murderers. They planted bombs. They tried to overthrow the United States. And when they realized they couldn't do that, they moved from an active terrorist role to the academic world, to politics, and even into the media.
But are you surprised that you got those job offers, you and she? Given
Not
your history?
really. I mean,
she was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list.
I know. So was Angela Davis. And, you know, a lot of great people have been on that list.
Sure they have. Sorry. This is Joe Connor, who you're seeing here. We have to laugh, although we weren't laughing along. Joe's father, seriously, was murdered in a terrorist attack by the FALN. Now, that's a group that wanted to bring about Puerto Rican independence through violent means. He knows a lot about the weather underground.
I think he's a punk. And then when he talked about being anti-war, he wasn't anti-war. He was anti-American, winning the Vietnam War.
Well, and
that's what he was about. We're talking about the President of the United States associating himself with a known terrorist. But the further we stray from the founding principles, the worse it gets. And what's going on right now, the tyranny in the country from their central government is way worse than what the founders faced from England back 200 years ago.
Joe Connor and Mike Duncan, the new book, The New Founders. I read it yesterday. It's a superb book. I guess you can get this on Amazon and on your website, and I think we'll be linking to it on our site.
www.thenewfounders.net.